Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's April 12th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and we had a huge rally today. It was a little crazy early on. I mean, we really were in a trading range early on, like it was going to be a trading range day. And you can see that resistance across there from working across there, and that pretty much held until right here, until we had this breakout, and then it was all uphill from there. We didn't quite close on our high. We weren't off of it but a few points. But you basically had a two-tiered channel, a correction, and then another two-tiered channel that was so strong we actually overshot it here. But really nice day. And I had one trader send me an email saying they really struggled today. I could see that early on, but once we started going higher, this is a strong trend, and these are easy days. Just you should make you should find a lot of second entries on days like this. And there's one, two, three. There's three easy ones, and there's probably more than that. But anyway, these were a couple of fairly easy. There's a second entry there. This one was basically wasn't a second entry, but it just bounced off that trend line. Um, but let's back out, talk about the trades, and move along. It's after 6 o'clock now. I'd like to get done today and get out of here. So I would have liked to have already been out of here. But early on when I came in, this was a pretty obvious two-tiered channel working higher. You could find it off both sides fairly easily if you just drew it off those first two swings. It fits real nicely up on the top. Um, you also had one measured leg up here, and so you were looking for a second measured leg up here, and we didn't quite get there, but we hit the upper side of the channel, so that was the reason it turned down. That's close enough. So once you kind of got up here and it starts working down, you got to be what you're looking for is prices to come back to the other side. You got to be real careful here. This one was a little tricky, maybe right here. This was right after 7 o'clock. Basically, when I came in, we're going sideways, and so you just got to be real careful here. You definitely don't want to be taking a second entry short right there. By the time that sets up, you don't have a very good signal bar. And it looks like a fairly decent long on a second entry, but by that time you've got this trend line working down and you've got no break of it yet. It comes right off those first two swings, and you see when it gets there, nothing can close outside of that, and it turns down and gives you that big bearish bar after a failed second entry long. Go short right there because you're looking for prices to come back over here anyway. So that was a great short. If you got trapped to the long side there, actually, it may have still worked to the long side. The high of that bar is 41. Actually, you want to look at the high of this bar. 40.25. So your entry would have been, and you probably would have tried to use if you use a limit order here, you could have gone long. I don't like that long because you're just flat going sideways, and we're looking for prices to come over here. So I think you're better off to skip it. And if it goes on, it's just one of those you miss. But when it turns up right there, and notice how that breaks higher and traps people and turns back down, that's a great trap. So nice short. You can see how quickly it shot straight down. That was a nice trade. And then we basically make a double bottom here, and you get another little trap. It tried to go lower below that bar and turns and goes up. Just go long there. You've got your close outside here, and you tried twice to get a new low. So you got a little trap there. So I like going long right there. It's right off that trend line. So you've got everything in place that you'd be looking for. And then it whips back and you get another. Actually, I meant to. This one is almost. This one's really could be right at the borderline of being green and blue. It's right off a key entry point. It's the second entry, but it's not a bearish signal bar, but it's not a great signal bar. Um, But again, they trap people to the short side that don't see this trend line and don't understand what's going on. And we talked about this yesterday. Just remember that generally, when you've got a flat top like this and acting as resistance, but you're making higher highs and higher lows, you're generally going to break and go higher. And we still did today, even though they made it look like they were going to sell it all, or they actually did sell it off first and backed it up some before they took off. So, but this one is so close it could actually be blue, but it's real, so I'm gonna leave it green. Nice trade, just simply because it's not a great signal bar. But this is a new low. It's a failed second entry short, so it's a trap. So I mean, it could go either way. I could leave it blue and still feel comfortable with it, but I'll leave that one green. And then of course we start selling off here. Um, we hit the midline and we start selling off, and you would think you'd probably bounce here, but it doesn't. It pushes on through and comes back. It looked like we had a break here. We actually did have a close outside of this little channel, and we had a new low, and I guarantee they trapped a ton of people right there. But a lot of times you'll get two legs down, so you better sit tight with everything being below that EMA and with it turning down right off that, because this is really your signal bar. So when it turned down and made that bearish bar, it went higher first, and when it went out the other side, I'd have a stop there. If it didn't, I'd put one there, because you're probably going to get another leg down, and so you're looking for a measured leg, but that thing just keeps going. And so if you could just catch two trades here today, if you could have caught this one and this one, or this one plus this one, then you're probably done. But you get a bunch of good trades today. There's just so many of them, and this thing just kept going. And what we did was we had our break here, and then we had our overshoot over here, but we got a new low. So you're looking for a reversal. As soon as you got a bullish bar here that you could go long above, I'd just go long there and at least try to ride it back to the EMA. But it just keeps going. Look at it go. And there's actually a failed second entry short right there, but that far away from the EMA, you don't want to be going long, especially right into that strong resistance. So you really could have gone short there. There's a little trap and you're way away from the EMA, but we were trying for at this point you're looking for a retest of the high from the break of this two-tiered channel going up here. So it's a dangerous place to be thinking about a short. But looking at it after the fact, I really like it, and probably wish I'd have taken it, especially with the resistance up there. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. But notice what happens. You still get a much better entry. You get two measured legs down, and you get this huge reversal bar. And it actually went lower first and then turned and went up. So I already had a buy stop there. That's what I recommend, hoping that it goes right on through, but it didn't. But it instantly bounces up and fills you and takes off. That was a quick, easy trade. And unfortunately, didn't get any runners on that one. They came right back and got them. And it's tempting to go long there, but because you got this double top here, I'd wait and see if we can't get a failed second entry short. And lo and behold, guess what? It tries to go up, turns down. Now look at that new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and look how bearish that is. So that's going to fool a lot of people. And when that fails, go long right there. And you can tell they trap people. That allowed them to push it on through. That's why they drove this down. They drive it down here and they try to get people loaded up. And you see how fast most all these shorts had to exit. So then they run out of steam again, so they have to make another trap, and that finally pushes it on through. Those traps a lot of times will push it on through these important areas, and once it went through, there was no looking back. But that's the setup of the day right there, and it's a great, and I know another trader saw it because he sent it to me, and I don't know if he saw it exactly the way I do, but he saw that it was a great entry and recognized it, and it took off. And any runners were easily safe, and if you can catch one single runner here on just a single contract. I mean, it just goes all day until we got a break of that trend line. I wouldn't be looking to exit. And we really never had a bar that closed outside and then broke below. So you could have ridden it all the way to the close basically, or just exited somewhere up here. You might have wanted to exit at the high here, but when it kept going, who's to say the high is really not up here at that point? So you got to be careful with that. But in the end, I believe it's right here, and you can see it. That held pretty much all day, except for and this is when the market was strong, and it just was an overshoot, plain and simple, because the market was really strong. But that was the setup of the day. And then notice we make a new high, pull back, first entry, pull back. We get a second entry right off the trend line, key entry point, little bitty small bar, low risk, another easy move. And it actually pulls back. The only reason I like this one is because it bounces off that trend line again. Um, it's a breakout pullback, long, and so it really could almost be green circle, but I'm gonna leave it blue because when it's strong like that, and you just almost have to take every bounce off that trend line. You got the same thing going here, but you only got one tick before you don't have any room at all on that one. And if you did take it, you still, when you made a lower high or double top here, you could have exited. It probably wouldn't have hurt you too bad. But once you start to be away from that EMA too long, you better stop taking trades. That's the bottom line. And this one, like I said, is close. We haven't been away that long yet. It's the first. It's really only about the second or third bounce off that trend line. But this one's even pushing it a little bit, especially since. But at this point, you didn't know if this line wasn't up here yet or not. You didn't really have enough evidence. It looks like it's right here, but you don't know. And generally, you're going to get a break of this first. But once you get up in here, again, you still wouldn't know where this line was. But you've been away from the EMA so long that it's just not hardly worth risking anymore. There's a second entry long right there, but now you're just going sideways, so you better skip that. You probably could have considered going long here because it's two legs down and it's a failed break out of that, but we weren't back to the midline. I guess we were. I'd move that midline. No, I think the midline's right in there. That's close enough. You probably could have considered we were. But you got a trend line working here and you don't have a break of it. That's the main thing. But you could almost consider that a failed break lower. It's two legs down. But I just don't like that setup. I think because you need a break of this and a new low and you just don't get it. And plus you're probably, with an overshoot, you're probably headed to here. You would think there's a good chance. There's even a failed second entry short here, but you're right back up here into this line. And I just don't think it's worth risking. And then you get another trend line coming back, and notice you get the break, the move to a new low. Now you got everything in place, and you got a nice little small bullish bar. Just take it, and then it pulls back and gives you a second entry counting off the low, and then you get a failed second entry short right there. Even though that's the high of the day, on a strong market on a trap like that, I'd take it, and it takes off. And you really don't get anything. There's another second entry long right there, but again, I don't think I would take that. That one probably should be green. It really should. I mean, once you realize what's going on here and you see how strong this is, you're looking for any reason to enter, especially if it's at a key entry type point. And the EMA is a key entry type point. Only problem is that we're not pushing higher real strong anymore. So I'm gonna leave that one green, and you really could count this as a second entry long, and it would have worked. But I'm not gonna count it either because you got another trend line working here, and you wouldn't have had a break of it yet. You can see that trend line working down across through there. You didn't get a break till here. And actually, that's another reason. This is all right into the, I wasn't paying attention, but this is all into the 2 o'clock hour, so that's why I didn't mark anything or draw anything up there. And that one is real close. That's another reason I probably wouldn't take that trade. Right into the 2 o'clock hour, even though it's a second entry, it's more sideways and there's not a whole lot of room there. It's basically the high of the day. I'd just skip that thing. So there's so many trades here that you don't want to risk something this late in the day and screw it all up. So just lots of good trades here, and you only needed to catch a couple of these with runner, and with there were so many runners, there were runners on that one, that one, that one. Yes, it would have had some runners on that one. Runners here, and definitely runners on that one down too. So lots of runners today. Some of them for multiple points. But it was a really good trading day. Hopefully you saw it. There's different ways to see this. There may even be a bigger pattern here. I didn't look for it. All you needed was what you see on my chart here. I didn't try drawing anything off the highs, and I mean it really was kind of a range day early on. You can see that support kind of right across there. There's probably a midpoint in there somewhere too. All you needed is these shorter term ones, and then the two-tiered channels working up. So, but anyway, not much more we can say about today. I'm going to wrap it up for the day. I do want to say one more thing. I didn't really want to get on my soapbox today because I want to get on out of here. But I'm getting a few, I always get a few emails, different things, and people want to change things. People want to experiment with different types of charts. People want to use two charts. People want to, add some little indicator here or add some little indicator there. For whatever reason, people just want to change stuff. They go reading this and they read something about it and it sounds wonderful and they say, I'm going to try that. But let me just say this, and I know some of you are going to heed my warning and some of you are just not going to listen. But we've got this down to a science. It works. And what a lot of people do is they don't stick to anything long enough to ever become successful at it. You got to stick to this a while. It takes a while to learn it, and people won't stick to it long enough to become successful with it. And they'll take a few trades, they fail, and they give up, and they're on to the next greatest and best thing. Or they read something that sounds great, and they say, well, I'm going to just tweak it like this a little bit. And they're really hurting themselves, and you're never going to get a chance to learn everything you need to know about how to do this. Volume, volatility, the key points where the buy and sell orders, it's all, you can see it all in this one chart. But if you don't work at seeing it all in this chart, you're never going to learn it. If you use a crutch, it's like if you hurt your leg. If you never get off the crutch and you just keep walking on the crutch, well, you're never going to re-strengthen that leg and get it back to full speed. You'll always be halfway crippled with that crutch. And so anything you add to what we're already doing here is a crutch. Throw your crutches away and learn to walk on your own two legs. And so I don't know any easier way to say that. And I still know that people are going to ignore that advice because there's always people that people just can't they can't stick to it long enough, and they read something here and they read something there and it just sounds so wonderful, and then so they want to try it, or they take a few trades and it doesn't work and they say, well, this don't work, and they give up, but they haven't even scratched the surface yet. So again, I didn't mean to get off on my soapbox today, but I think people need to hear that. Don't try to change what we're doing here. If you want to learn price action, stick to what we're trying to teach you, because I promise you we have this down to a science. We've been doing this a long time. We've already been through all the things that you're wanting to experiment with. We've already tried all that. And we know what works and we know what doesn't work. And what we're showing you here works. And you can either, you can either stick to it until you learn it, and you don't learn this. That's another thing. Another trader, so it reminds me of, he sent me an email today, and he says, I've been really seeing it well, and then suddenly I'm losing. Well, he's really got it down pretty good. He understands what we're doing, but he just doesn't have the experience yet. You got to do this for a while. I mean, even once you learn it, he says, I'm seeing it real well after the fact. He says, but I'm just losing it while it's happening. Well, that's very common. That's what happens. It takes a while. Just because you've learned all the rules and the nuances, you still have to get the screen time to learn how to do this, to see it. And you got to remember that most of the people that are doing this, that are good at it, have been doing it for years and years. And I've been doing this over 10 years. And I'm still probably a small fry new type guy compared to some of the others. So you're not going to learn this in a few weeks or even a few months. You need to be thinking in year terms of years. This job pays better. This job has less stress, less hours, and pays better than being a medical doctor, a lawyer, or any other kind of professional that makes really good money in this country, in the U.S., or even in the world for that matter. And so for anybody to think you're going to walk in here in a few weeks or a few months and be able to do this, you have unreal expectations. This takes a long time. And even once you learn it, you still have to get the experience. Screen time. It's just like, I mean, I really don't want to keep dragging this out, but I just want to make sure people understand that. And you're not going to do this thinking in terms of weeks and months. Forget it. I don't care what your IQ is. I don't care how smart you are. You're not as smart as you think you are, because you don't understand what we're doing here. It takes a while to learn this, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And I'm not beating up or picking on anybody. It's just multiple emails that I've gotten over the last few days have made me want to say that again. So it's not any one of you, and you may have picked up some point that I've said to you earlier today or yesterday, but I'm not singling you out, I promise. I just want to make sure you understand, because it's not just, there's several of you. And I see this over and over, year after year. People come in here and they have unreal expectations. They start monkeying with everything. They start trying to save things, or change things, I mean, and they're just shooting themselves in the foot. So we got it down to a science. It works. Stick to it till you learn it, and eventually you'll make it. But it's going to be a long journey, a long, long journey. So be prepared for that. So anyway, I'm out of here. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.